Hi BookTube, my name is Juan. I am just one reader. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing my wrap-up for the month of September. It's gonna be a quick one because I only read 4 books in September, which sounds like a pretty low number for me considering my recent reading history, which had been going so well. But anyway, if I really think about it, I think I read some amazing books in September, especially the main 2 books that I spent most of the time of the month reading. Those 2 books are 2 of my favorite books of the year so far, especially the first one that I will be mentioning today is probably my favorite novel of the year so far. So all in all, it was a pretty good reading month. So without any further ado, let's start the discussion. So the first book that I finished in September was Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. This is my favorite book of the year so far. It's just a hell of a novel, and I really mean I want to emphasize the word hell because it is a sort of dark revenge gothic tale. Some people have said that this is a love story, or some people have sold this to other people as a love story. It most certainly is not a love story. This is a revenge tale, and I think it's a dark fairy tale esque kind of cautionary tale about what happens when things are not worked through, when children receive abuse and inherit their parents' issues and conflicts. You know, it's a family story of everything that can go wrong and does go wrong when parenting is awful. I loved this book. I loved the writing. I loved the characters, even though they represent violence and trauma, and they are sort of awfully conflicted, horrible characters, but I loved being with them and exploring their histories. I just loved the storm that this novel was. I think it's just absolutely remarkable, and I loved it. I loved spending time with it. I didn't want to put it down. It was absolutely perfect. I gave it 5 stars. Then the second book that I read in September was Assassin's Apprentice, which is the first book in the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. This is fantasy, but it's good fantasy. So what I mean by that is, in terms of fantasy, those kinds of genres like sci-fi and fantasy, especially those 2 genres, I always feel very resistant, very reluctant, very hesitant, very unsure whether I should read those genres or books in that genre because I feel like there is a prejudice, probably a prejudice that I have and many readers probably have as well, that those kinds of books, sci-fi and fantasy books, don't have or don't tend to have good writing. So that's probably a prejudice, but I think it's also true in some examples of those genres. So when people tell me, oh, you should read this book, it's fantasy or it's sci-fi, I am a little bit reluctant to the idea of reading something that might not have a good writing style because, in case you didn't know this about me, I read mostly for the writing style and also for the characters and also the storytelling. Those are the 3 most important qualities for me in my reading: writing, character, storytelling, which is not the same as plot. And this is a good example of how a book in that genre, fantasy, actually really surprised me for the better because this book, even though it is fantasy, I think it does all those 3 qualities really well. It has those 3 qualities in spades. This book is wonderfully well written. The writing is very warm and has a kind of melodic line to it. It's very easy to read and it's very enveloping. You really, when you sit down and read this book, you feel immersed, and it's sort of gentle and I don't know how to describe it. I really liked sitting down with this book and feeling like I was there in this world with this writing style. Then, in terms of the character, this book is wonderful. This book is really, really a character study about the main protagonist, Fitz, who is a boy. He's a bastard to the heir to the throne, and he's trained as an assassin, and he discovers many things and plots, and we really just follow this character through his life, through his first years in court, and the plot of the novel, the story itself, is not really the most important thing here. It's all about the character and the voice, the writing, and the third quality that I like in books, which is the storytelling. I thought it was pretty solid here. Some people say that in later installments in the series and in some other series, Robin Hobb tends to ramble on quite a bit and becomes very repetitive and sort of drags the story out and it becomes slow. But I found this first installment to be just right. It was fast paced, it was beautifully slow in some other areas. It was just a really good introduction to this world and these characters, and I really want to continue reading this book. I gave it 4 stars. I I was loving this book until the end because the end was a little bit strange for me. I think it was a little bit too convoluted, and I didn't feel that the mystery was not the mystery, but the big revelation at the end, the climax. I didn't like the way that that was revealed. I thought it was a little bit too confusing, but other than that, this is a book that I really recommend to people if you like character driven stories and you like fantasy tropes and elements that are not too extraordinarily overwhelming. This book is for you. Then I read The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde. This is a play by this beloved author. He's an author that I have really loved in the past. I have read his super famous and wonderful novel, The Picture of Dorian Gray. I love it. I adore it. I think it's one of the best books ever written that I've read. I have also read some of his short stories this year and really like them. But this was hilarious. This is a play and it's sort of a comedy of manners. It's, very fast paced. It's because it's a play, it's all dialogue and you can just read it in one sitting. It's all about confusions and mishaps and miscommunication and, people having fake identities, and it's a rollicking good time. I really liked it. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. It was just a very refreshing palate cleanser. And then the fourth and last book that I completed in September was Cold Comfort Farm by Stella Gibbons. This book was written in the 1930s, and it's a satire on British rural novels that were very popular back in the day. Broody, sort of melancholy, romanticized versions of the English countryside and the characters that inhabit those places. So this book is a satire, it's a comedy, it's a play on those tropes. And everybody that I had seen on BookTube talking about this book were very enthusiastic. They all really seemed to love this book. They found it hilarious, and I picked it up very enthusiastic myself, thinking I would love this, and sadly, I did not. I gave this book 3 stars in the end because I do think that the good parts outweighed the bad parts, or it's not even bad, it's just things that I missed. It was more the things that it lacked, not so much that what it ended up being was bad. It just I found that I was always missing something else, that I was lacking something here. The writing is beautiful. It's simplistic, but it's very beautiful. It's well executed. Really, the best quality that I found in this book is the quirky characters that are full of just eccentric little whimsical things that they do and say, and it was hilarious at the beginning. It's a book that can be very funny, especially at the beginning, I found. But then the story itself, the plot, um, I just didn't really connect with it. I thought it was very episodic, the book, just very episodic in nature, and I was never really compelled to keep reading, even though I was sort of feeling amused because it is an amusing book with funny lines and jokes and observational humor. You know, it's a book with a lot of wit in some places, and it's delightful and charming in some places, but I just found something there in terms of the story to be lacking. I began to feel very tired of the same thing over and over again, and by the end of the book I was just very tired and bored. I was really bored for the final, I don't know, 100 pages. So that's a big chunk of the book. This is a very short book. And yeah, for a big chunk there, I found myself thinking, why? Why am I still reading this? I like the characters, I like the writing, but there's no real substance because it's a satire probably, but I just didn't find the story compelling, and it was very boring by the end. But like I said, I think the good parts, the good qualities that it has are certainly worth picking this book up. I think this book has some of that Marmite quality that people talk about, British people. I think that some people are going to go crazy and love this book. Many people have. Some people like myself and many other reviewers on Goodreads just found it boring and delightful in some parts, but it was not enough. The good parts were just not enough. So I ended up giving this 3 stars. And the one thing that I will say here is that I found this book to be very interesting in terms of the some of the themes that it explores, especially mental illness. It's sort of a comedy play on mental illness and what mental illness can do to a person and to their family. And I thought that was really wonderfully explored and very interesting. So that's a very good thing that I took from the experience. I gave it 3 stars. And that's it. That was my September. I thought it was a pretty interesting month because of Wuthering Heights and the first Fitz book, Assassin's Apprentice. I also liked the funny uh, English wit in Oscar Wilde's play. And even though I wasn't a huge fan of Stella Gibbons's Cold Comfort Farm, it was interesting and it was very funny at first. So I would recommend all 4 of these books. Thanks for watching. I am just one reader. I look forward to your comments down below, and I will see you on the next video.